welcome to Paul the Other One here on River Radio. This is a show where we take a light-hearted look at events in today's world and in Berkshire by mishmashing traditional comedy panel shows whilst also getting to know our weekly guest in a chat show format. As always, I'm your host, Brian Naylor, and we're joined by resident panellists, the talented, the wonderful, DJ and presenter, the awesome Chloe Sinclair, better known as Miss C. And on the other side, we have the host of Same Again Barman, Comedy Nights, and YouTube presenter. I'm jealous of all the people who are lucky enough not to have met him yet. It's Pratik Barman. And joining us this week, our very special guest. This chap has written for the BBC on radio. He's also appeared on Soccer AM, TalkSport. He's topical comedian. Peter Merre, welcome. So welcome to the show, Peter. It's great to have you here. What have you been up to? Have you been busy now lockdown is over?
It was difficult in lockdown, and then once everything's reopened and we started getting gigs again, and I was emceeing a Saturday night gig. So yeah, I'm pleased to be back and doing comedy and even hosting pub quizzes, which is another little side hustle.
Fantastic. It's great to have you here on River Radio. Are you prepared for it? Are you ready for this?
As I'll ever be.
Good man. Let's go speedily into round one, the news review. This is where I'll give you a subject, line of a story, and you have to tell me what it's all about. Points will be awarded for any amusing or correct answers. So let's start with question number one. Woman attacked by what says it shouldn't face any consequences?
Was it an angry anti-vaxxer who's just heard that the Pfizer's been approved?
Yeah.
Is it Nicola Sturgeon dressed up as Jimmy Cranky?
No, but that should face consequences, surely. That's just not right, is it?
Was it Trump's dented ego?
That, again, should face consequences.
Is it Donald Trump's hair?
What, again, every week?
We've got a running theme here. Was it an angry seagull? Because they can be quite vicious.
Didn't we have that as well?
Did we? Ah, topical, isn't it?
Yeah. Anybody got the right answer for me?
Is it an alligator?
Do you know
So I
what?
saw some story about a woman and an alligator.
It is. Look at that. Chloe steams ahead as normal with round one and takes the first point. Yeah, this is the story about animal handler Lindsay Bull, who was attacked by an alligator during a child's birthday party at Scales and Tails in the Salt Lake City, Utah. She was left wrestling with the creature after it clamped its jaws down on her hand and pulled her into the water tank. She was eventually rescued after a visitor leapt into the water and sat on top of the animal. Lindsay later said, "I love him, he loves me, and he shouldn't face any consequences as he was just having a bad day." As yet, there has been no response from the alligator, but a spokesman said that's because he lives in denial. Oh, come on, what do you want? Yeah, I'm just warming up. I'm just warming up.
He's here all week.
Yeah. I quite like that one.
I quite liked it too. And do you know what? I don't think he should face any consequences either. He's an animal being kept in captivity. He's done nothing wrong. Zoos are the equivalent to prison for animals, but all the animals are innocent. But you know what? If you get a bite here and there, that's your own fault, I think.
Chloe,
Good comment, Chloe.
When you said he shouldn't face any consequences, I thought you were talking about Brian for that joke.
Both, actually.
That's very kind. I probably should. Chloe, congratulations. Well, 1 point to you, or it's irrelevant really because I always forget by after the first round. Question number two. What type of enthusiast got married at a very moving service?
Was it an alternative facts enthusiast?
Alternative facts?
Yeah, I just liked chucking that in. That Trump was going on about alternative facts. So rubbish, basically.
Oh, I thought you meant one of those machines that print it off like 20 years ago.
Showing your age there, Brian.
This is going to be a long show.
Have we not got a fax machine at River Radio? Yeah, I was going to send my invoice in, but you know.
Yeah, send it by fax. It'll be fine.
Yeah, the 90s called. They want their technology back.
Yes. Yeah.
By the way, we were going to stop this if you expect to get paid because it ain't happening.
All right, okay,
We'll
bye,
cut it
thanks,
short.
guys. It's been fun. It's been great fun. I'll see you again, yeah.
Is it dogging enthusiasts?
Do you know what? He just repeats the same old tripe every week, doesn't he?
I'm not one for repeating stuff, but I'm not one for repeating stuff.
Oh, he's good. He's on fire this week, Pratik.
Was it royal family enthusiasts, Harry and Meghan enthusiasts, maybe, or?
It's good, but it's not right.
What about techno enthusiasts?
No, are you just like mentioning different types of enthusiasts now? Patrick.
Yeah.
Is it Piers Morgan enthusiasts? They don't exist, so it can't be them.
Not two of them, anyway. He'd have to marry himself.
Yeah.
Can we answer this question with what it isn't? Would we still get a point?
Well, we could be here for quite some time, but, go ahead.
Is it something to do with train spotting? That's the first thought, but I thought it was so boring. I didn't want to go in at the first.
Do you know what? Yeah, it's not far off, actually. It's something to do with trains. Well done.
Oh.
Half a point already.
Hey!
Anybody going to finish that off for me?
That's what she said.
Did they get married on a train?
They get married in the queue, waiting to be served at the buffet.
No, they did, in fact. Pratik is right. They did get married on a train. In fact, it was Lauderdale and Jane Magnet won a competition to have their wedding on board a train. The newlyweds from Surrey beat 150 entries for the opportunity to say I do on the Avanti West Coast service. We wish them well and hope that their marriage doesn't go off the rails.
Hey.
The buffets on trains, they cost an arm and a leg. Do you think the reception was more expensive because of the buffet? I got a feeling it was,
Probably was. Well, they won the competition, so they might have got it for free. Cup of tea and a dodgy sandwich or something.
I think if I'd been invited, I would have took my own sandwiches just in case.
They're always a bit sparse, aren't they, with nothing on there? There's lots of filling in the middle, but not so much on the edge.
I think I know who writes all those TripAdvisor reviews now, Chloe.
Well, you got to make your money somehow.
So Pratik's got a point that I will forget about as we go on as well. Question number 3. What sets up home on a motorboat?
Was it a flat earther looking for the edge of the world?
Is it Prince Andrew?
Ooh.
He has to escape somewhere.
Eurovision Song Contest enthusiast. Are we still doing the enthusiast? Was it a train enthusiast that set up on a boat while the trains weren't running during COVID? I don't know. Yeah.
Do you know what? I actually saw this recently, and it was like a huge walrus, or two. There was 2 of them, and they got on this boat that was literally the size, almost the same size as them. Is that the story?
Brilliant. Chloe once again steals it with some intelligence and clever input. Thank you, Chloe. Yes, that is the story about Wally the wandering walrus who sets up his home on a motorboat. The semi-aquatic mammal has reportedly already sunk a small boat and damaged several others on his visit to Cork. During Wally's 3,000-mile annual migration from the Arctic Ocean, he'll visit the UK, France and Spain, but he won't be going to Morocco this year because it's on the red list.
It's funny you should mention the boat party. I remember I went on the boat party once, yeah, and when I went on board, they said, I don't mind you having a few drinks, but don't go overboard.
Oh, God, it doesn't get any better, Peter. I am sorry.
We apologise on behalf of Pratik and his terrible joke there.
I have to do one terrible joke a week, but unfortunately I do about 50.
And what do you do? Then you when you edit it, you pick out the worst one.
What I do is get the laughter from everybody else's jokes and put them on the end of mine.
It's Chloe with 2 points, Pratik with 1, and Peter is yet to start. And we are on question number 4. This question is: young North Koreans ordered to do what?
Is it all of John Cleese's silly walks?
Is it not join TikTok?
I was going to say that next. I was going for that. Great minds.
Is it not go on radio comedy panel shows?
Is it play strip poker with Kim Jong-un?
Stop mining Bitcoin?
Is it not mention how much weight Kim Jong put on during lockdown?
Oh, I'd say yes.
He's a chunky, isn't he?
Just making it difficult now, aren't you?
You've just blocked our podcast going out in North Korea.
Yeah.
And we might be in trouble.
You can just use a beep. It will be fine.
Yeah, I will actually.
Anybody got an answer for me?
Is it stop dressing like South Koreans?
It is indeed. Yeah, you're right, Peter. It is, they've got to stop being influenced by foreign influences. This is a story that young North Koreans were ordered to stop speaking, dressing and dancing like South Koreans, or else. Officials from Kim Jong-un's regime have warned young North Koreans that they must follow a traditional lifestyle and adhere to the country's dialect. A North Korean defector told Reuters that in the daytime, the population is shouting, "Long live Kim Jong-un," but at night, they're all watching foreign shows like The Jerry Springer Show and Baywatch. Now, this is in a country where a life sentence can be imposed if someone is convicted of importing banned material, and those found smuggling in content from the US can face the death penalty, which seems about right if you're watching Baywatch.
That's a bit, it's quite strong, isn't it? How do you dance like you're from somewhere else? I just dance. I don't have, like, my dancing doesn't come from a certain part of the world. It's not like, oh, I'm dancing very Welsh today. I've been Brixton mainly, but, I dance a bit occasionally on the weekends. That's quite specific.
It is. Let's ask Pratik, because he's from Wales. Could you do some Welsh dance? It's great for radio.
I can't, but I can imagine people saying you can't do dancing from somewhere. I've seen Chloe dance. She dances like she comes from an old people's home.
You've never seen me dance.
I see the DJ, so that's technically you dance when you're DJing, no?
Yeah. I move about a bit. I don't really dance.
Like a geriatric. I'm joking.
I'm taking it personally now.
No, she's a very good dancer. Very good. I think we're very lucky to live in the UK, considering what happens out there. It's terrible, isn't it? Being under a regime like that. I'd rather live in Scotland.
There's a lot of people liking Scotland these days.
Like if they're telling the North Koreans not to behave like the South Koreans, is that like the Scottish not behaving like the English, or the Welsh not behaving like the English, or
it's everybody not acting like the English?
Well, I could agree with that, to be honest. But North Korea and South Korea, it's the same country, isn't it? Really, it's Korea. I would have thought wouldn't have been a problem.
They don't like that.
Is that like England and saying that Wales is the UK and we?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I get it.
It's a bit worse than that, Chloe. They don't kill people in Wales.
No, but you mean people get offended like they do in Wales if you say, "Oh, you're from Great Britain." You're like, "No, I'm not. I'm Welsh. How dare you?"
They are from Great Britain, though.
No, we're Welsh.
Kim Jong-un gets offended. That's the difference. And if he gets offended, then the whole population are in trouble. So
wow. It must be so difficult to work for someone like that all the time. You'd be scared to do anything, wouldn't you? You'd just be like, am I allowed to do this? Just don't talk, don't say anything, don't look, don't move, just in case you upset someone.
Yeah.
I've been there. It's like being married.
Walking on eggshells springs to mind.
it's a bit like when working with Brian when I was doing my mic earlier on. I was a bit scared.
Yeah. I was going to send the boys around to smash your face in. So, well done. At the end of question number 4, somebody won a point. Question number 5 then. Nasty surprise as man is sitting on the toilet.
Man bitten by Janet Street Porter.
No, he was surprised by Janet Street Porter.
Oh, yeah, surprised.
Is it man bitten by Sarah Jessica Parker? You never see Sarah Jessica Parker and Janet Street Porter in the same room, do you? What's going on there?
Is it a man is almost ejected off the toilet by really intense butt gun? You know, like the little...
What's a butt gun?
You don't know? I've been to Thailand and they've got these little butt guns, like they're like little they're like taps things that you wash your butt with. But sometimes they can be really intense. And I nearly took off once when I used one. So I just thought he could have had a nasty surprise with one of those, almost taking his genitalia off. That's what I was trying to say.
I've heard of a butt plug, but not a butt gun.
I don't know what the technical term is that we call him. You could call them a butt gun, a butt washer.
It's actually called a douche.
Oh, is that a douche?
Yeah, it's a douche. So they actually use it in Middle Eastern countries and India now. And in UK, they're quite popular with the Indian community. The older Indian community, they'd like to use a douche.
It's genius because it's so clean. As a woman, if you use one of those, and I've done it many times, if there isn't any toilet paper to use afterwards, you just walk from the bathroom and look like you've wet yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a great look, really. We haven't got the answer for the question. So was it bitten by something? Say a massive spider with 5 heads.
Wow.
That would have been a surprise.
It would be a surprise. It'd be a miracle. Everybody is going along the bitten side of things for some reason. But yes, it was bitten by something, not a 5-headed spider.
Was it a snake?
It was a snake. Yeah. So, Peter, you got that right. A man in Austria, not Australia, Austria, had a nasty surprise when he was bitten by a python while sitting on the toilet. He said he felt a pinch in the area of his genitals. Before noticing a 5-foot snake beneath him on the toilet. Oh, why is Pratik nodding his head, making his head like that?
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that happening to you? I'd just be terrified.
Pratik, I see a 5-foot python every time I go to the toilet.
That gives a whole new meaning to the term trouser snake.
Yeah. So, the python, which had escaped actually from the neighbour's flat. It's the world's largest species of snake, and they don't usually attack humans until or unless they are threatened or they mistake something for food. Okay, so that is the end of round 1, and we have got Chloe in the lead, followed by Pratik and Peter in no particular order.
This is a load of barnacles.
Peter, let's find out something about you, because as you said, you have been doing some MCing, which is comparing. Is this like comparing like other acts to go on and you have to keep the crowd going? Is that not the hardest job?
I like it because it means I get more stage time than the other acts. I can do as long or as little as I need to do, depending on, that act didn't do so well, I've got to bring the crowd back up. So, yeah, I can try new material and I can do lots of crowd work. So I can generate more material by talking to audience. So I really love it. I really love MCing.
Yeah, so that's always interested me with comedians, stand-up comedians, is actually developing your material. You think of something somewhere, probably at night at 3 o'clock in the morning. I think that might be funny, but now I've got to have the gall or the guts to go out and just see and try it and see if I get a reaction. And then I guess your comedy evolves and develops from that whole process, doesn't it? Actually live on stage.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. When you're starting out in comedy, you have this idea of what you're going to be, whether it's bizarre, surreal, one-liner, political, and then you develop on stage and it might be something completely different from what you originally wanted to be. And then, okay, I'll go down that road because that seems to work for me on stage. This doesn't work, that does work, I'll do that.
Okay, your sort of tagline, I think, is topical comedian. Is all your stuff centered around politics or just current affairs or what?
Not just politics, the royal family, sport, COVID obviously has been topical, I think, for a while, possibly for another year or two. The Olympics, Paralympics have just started. Anything that I can get something funny out of. Obviously, there's a couple of things that are very on the edge. But so, yeah, don't always go there.
Yeah, sure. But it says to me that you're making things hard for yourself in as much as I'd imagine at the beginning of a season, if there is such a thing for a comedian, they write a load of material and they'll do it for 6 months and then perhaps rewrite and have another show. Whereas from what you're saying, it sounds to me like you've got to rewrite half the show or half of your material every week.
I do have to write, lots of new stuff, which I enjoy doing and I would do anyway. And I'm going to do like YouTube shows and podcasts and things like that. But I was listening to one of your previous shows with Dimitri Bakanoff, a great friend of mine. And he was saying every time something happens between Russia and Ukraine, that means he can get his topical joke out again about being that's where he's from. And it's the same with me. If Harry and Meghan in particular, says something, then I bring out my Harry Meghan stuff. When Trump was in, like Trump would be saying something every other week, something controversial. And it's, right, do the Trump stuff, do the football stuff. Wayne Rooney's done something. So there's always opportunities to bring stuff back, especially like, my favourite material or stuff that I know that works in front of a live audience or even a different, a dead audience maybe.
What did you do before you did comedy then? What brought you into comedy?
I was doing like sales jobs and things like that. So I was good at speaking to people. And then I did a radio course, so here we are now. And from the radio course, production course and developing shows, I got into comedy because let's do a comedy show for our radio show. And then I went to a BBC recording of a live show. Then I started going to live stand-up shows on a regular basis. I thought, I want to do comedy. I want to do stand-up.
Do you do it full time now?
Not at the moment, no. Hopefully that's obviously the goal. And at the moment, I said to you earlier, I do pub quizzes. Again, it's an MC kind of role, hosting. Literally, I just given the sheet by the company and I go to the pub and read out questions basically. And I still do a little bit of sales stuff, not a lot, but a little bit.
That's pretty much what I do. Read out questions. I could do that.
So when you're going through material, how do you prepare? What gives you inspiration to think I'm going to use that? Do you test it out on your friends and family first? Or
do you know what I used to do before I was actually performing? I was always writing, and I used to use Twitter a lot and see what works and what didn't work. And I used to get quite a good response when Twitter was newer than it is now. Now I find that there's just too much on Twitter, and for various other reasons, I don't tend to put the jokes on Twitter immediately. I tend to write them down because I've got a gig tonight. I write it down. I won't put it on Twitter until I see that it works. And like that, really, yeah. I use Twitter less, bizarrely, nowadays than I used to.
Well, do you know what? I find Twitter, nobody reads anything on Twitter. It's just people posting their opinions and nobody responds or does anything. I do occasionally and then nothing comes back and I'm just like, I can't be bothered. To be fair, most of them have got a bit tiresome. I've only just recently got into TikTok and I'm really enjoying that. I thought I was too old for it. And then lo and behold, no, I'm not. There's people on there much older than me.
Yeah, I've done a few. I'm on TikTok, but I haven't used it a lot yet. I've done a little bit during the Euro football. And yeah, you say there's lots of older people on it. I've been a bit nerdy, but I've done a few courses with other comedians during lockdown about comedians that are very successful on TikTok, how to use it. The algorithm is changing, so it does suit creatives like ourselves, shall we say, rather than just teenagers dancing. They know that there's people using it for that reason, so
that's
changed the algorithm, yeah.
So, Peter, what I was going to ask you is, you're mentioning TikTok and Twitter there. How do we find that? What are the handles? What are the tags?
It quite literally is Topical Comedian on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and Grindr. No, not Grindr.
Topical Comedian, and we'll find you, yeah?
Grindr.
Topical Comedian, yeah.
Pete, you were talking about TikTok and the classes that you did. Did you do one with Chelsea Hart?
I did one with Chelsea and one with Freddie Quinn. Yeah. So anyone in the comedy community will know those two people, and also any listeners should check them out. They're both good comedians, and they're both doing very well on TikTok.
So Chelsea started her TikTok last year, and she's up to 1 million followers already. Can you believe that? Unbelievable.
Amazing.
I do think it's a great platform because I don't know much about the algorithm on it, but I think that a lot more comes through rather than there's not so much paid advertising, because we used to use Facebook for a lot of things, and you've got to pay to get anything seen these days on there. And it's just not, I don't think many people are on it, because I think people have just whinged people away from it over the whole lockdown. People have just moaned and whinged, but everybody's just gone, oh God, I can't be bothered to look at that. And you just go over to TikTok and there's just people dancing around and behaving like twits, which is much more entertaining.
Absolutely. That's what we needed during lockdown, was a bit of entertainment.
It's so funny. I set up my TikTok account. I've got about 5 followers at the moment. So I'm going to try and work to 1 million next week. We'll see what happens. After this show, you never know.
I think all the listeners are going to jump on that now, mate. Yeah.
So what are your handles, Pratik? Because I'm Missy MC DJ on TikTok.
Same again, Barman on everything that I use, really.
Sweet. Same again.
Fantastic. Well, listen, that's the end of this part of the show. You're listening to River Radio and Paul, the other one. Don't go anywhere, because we're going to be right back. This is River Radio.
The soundtrack to life in the Thames Valley. River Radio. On the web.
To the Batmobile. Let's go.
On your mobile.
Hello?
And on Alexa too.
River Radio.
That's it!
I pronounce that River Radio, but I'm always working on how I say things, and I might not have it right.
Turn your radio on, and listen to the music in the air.
Yes, let's see. I think I'll turn over to the loudspeaker.
River Radio.
Hello?
This is only a test.
This radio station will remain on the air, day and night.
Across the Thames Valley.
Turn on the radio and let's have some music.
Turn it all the way up. River. Turn it all the way up. Radio. Spread the word.
Welcome back. You're listening to River Radio and Paul, the other one. We are just in time for round 2, which is a fib round. This is where our contestants have to convince their fellow panelists of whether their story is either true or a lie. Your fellow panelists can cross-examine you and the details of your story to help them decide if your story is true or false. Points will be awarded for guessing correctly. Who wants to go first? Pratik, congratulations.
So I once climbed into a window at a holiday camp and slept the night in a room, only to find out the next day I'd slept in the wrong apartment with someone else.
Can I ask why you climbed in the window and not used a key and a door like normal people?
Yeah.
Good question, yeah.
Okay, I lost my key and I saw the window open. It was on the ground floor and I jumped through the window. It was very dark, and jumped into the nearest bed that was there. There was actually someone else in the room in a separate bed.
Oh my God, no. Do you know what? This sounds so far-fetched that it could be real. I can imagine you being totally drunk and just doing that, but I don't know if it is true or not. I want it to be true because it sounds so hilarious. Did that person wake up?
He did in the morning, and he said, "Who the hell are you?" in a more strongly worded statement.
With swearing, you mean? Things that we're not allowed to say. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I think it was his own fault for leaving the window open.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm going to say true, yeah. I think you saw a window of opportunity and you went through it.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm going to go with true as well.
So, Pratik, is it true or false? Did you, in fact, climb in through a window and ended up in the wrong room whilst on holiday?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
So I was in Butlins in Minehead. I'd lost my key, or I thought I'd lost my key. I actually was going to the wrong apartment, so with the key, so I couldn't get in. And then I climbed through the window, got into bed, and the next morning, the bloke was like, "Who the hell are you?" I said, "Who the hell are you?" And he was like, there was another stag do there. And I was in the wrong stag do's group. So every time we walked past them the next day, they started laughing every time they saw me, basically. There's a bloke who tried to get into my room.
You didn't try. You did. You were in
Yeah, I
there.
did.
You slept.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And do you have a reunion every year on the same day now? Or
No, we don't. But
does he follow you on TikTok? Is he one of your 5 followers?
he is. He's actually got 5 accounts.
Yeah, he wants you. He wants you.
It was funny. It was hilarious, actually. But yeah, imagine waking up and seeing me in the next bed. Never seen me before.
That's how therapists make money.
Excellent. Okay, so Peter and Chloe both get a point on that one. Okay, Peter, would you like to go next?
During lockdown, I, like a lot of people, put on a bit of weight, and I purchased a product to make myself look thinner. I basically bought spandex.
Okay.
So is it like a corset? Is it like a man corset?
Yeah, basically, I'd say it's like 3 a.m. You're trolling through Instagram and the adverts come on. And most people would go for a run or get on a treadmill or do some weights. And I went for the easy option of buying something that I could wear to make myself look thinner.
Can I ask, is it like trousers, shorts, top, or is it an all-in-one pull-on, suck-in thing?
Yeah, it's you wear it like shorts, but it's a bit like Simon Cowell. It's like a high waist.
The mind boggles.
Is it made of leather?
We did say we wouldn't discuss this, Pratik. It's not leather.
Do you wish it was leather?
We did say we wouldn't discuss this, Pratik.
Oh, yes.
I don't like to repeat myself.
So have you actually worn it?
I might be wearing it now.
Again, not great for radio, but can we have a look?
Actually, it's great for radio. I don't want to look.
So how many times have you worn this thing?
Half a dozen maybe. Yeah.
And when would you wear this?
That's half a dozen.
Will you do shows and stuff?
Yeah, basically, yeah. We're at shows, so I look like I'm a bit more svelte than I am, yeah.
I don't know. Because we're recording this over Zoom, I can see his face. He looks like he's definitely bluffing. I'm going to say false on this.
Do you have a partner, Peter?
I live alone.
So he may have this. He might be wearing it now. Yeah, makes sense.
I think true, because that's women do it all the time. So why wouldn't men do it?
Okay, so Pratik is going with false and Chloe is going with true. Peter, are you in fact wearing now some weird spandex thing, sucking it in?
The truth is I am wearing it now and I did buy it, yeah.
Yeah, I was right.
Brilliant.
Oh my God. Well done, Chloe.
Live on national radio.
I wondered why your voice was squeaky. Okay, so
it's definitely not leather.
Oh, okay. I believe you. Millions wouldn't.
I am just thinking all sorts of lines from Alan Partridge now. As long as the inner lining hasn't perished, you'll be fine.
well done. Chloe steals that point out of Patrick's grasp. It's your go as well, Chloe. Off you go.
I once shared a house with some pop stars.
Oh, interesting.
Which group of pop stars?
The KLF.
Chloe, are you in fact the sixth Spice Girl?
Funnily enough, I'm a little bit too young. It's nice to be too young for something.
It was the KLF.
KLF are going to rock you. You remember the song?
No, that's not KLF is going to rock you. That's somebody else. That's somebody else is going to rock you. That's...
No, it's not.
Was it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was KLF. Yeah. You're right. No, I was quite young at the time. That was in the highlight of their career.
So how did this happen then? Did you just turn up one day and say, oh, do you mind if I show your house? Or was it some other arrangement?
They had a huge house and it was massive. And they had a floor that me and my mum lived in because we moved to London from Wales.
So did your mum know them?
Yeah, of course. I was only about 3, 4, so it wouldn't have been my mates. That would have been just weird. 3-year-olds making moving arrangements.
Okay, so how did your mum know the KLF?
Her and my dad have been friends with them for many years.
It sounds very truthful, doesn't it? What do you reckon, Pete?
I want it to be true. Yeah, I want it to be true. I'm not sure. So you were quite young, obviously, you were saying, Chloe. Did you couldn't have influenced them not to burn that £1 million?
Unfortunately, no. I was about 12, 13 when they did that. I didn't know until it was done. So I was like, damn it.
Can you imagine if you was there on that? That's like a landing on the moon moment, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Right.
They actually regretted that, didn't they, later on? They actually did an interview and said, oh, it was one of the stupidest things they ever did. Do you know that story, Brian?
I don't know.
No, so basically KLF burnt £1 million for a video. Literally cash into a fire.
That's mad because one, that's treason for defacing the Queen's head, so they could go for jail for that. And two, it's £1 million. Are they mental?
It was insured, and they had a video and a film and a book made up from it, so they didn't lose £1 million.
Are you sure? I didn't know that.
They didn't lose the whole million. They probably lost some because they could still take the ashes in, and the ashes could be weighed. They did still have some sort of value to them. I don't really know the ins and outs, but that's the story that I heard. I was quite young. Like I said,
that can't be right.
And they made a book and a film, so they did that. So they got some sort of publicity. It was a stunt. They liked stunts. They always pulled crazy stunts. They had one stunt that they did at the Brit Awards. I think it was the Brits or something. And they went up on stage, and a friend of theirs, Gimpo, had a machine gun that fired blanks at the audience. Obviously, that didn't go down very well, and that sort of thing would definitely not be happening now. You'd probably go to prison for that sort of thing right now. Oh, and they left a dead sheep outside, which probably not. I have no idea why, but they were just sticking their fingers up at the whole kind of like award ceremony kind of thing, and they were just like being very rock and roll, which is what you want of people in the music industry. You want a bit of rock and roll.
From rock and roll stars, you want a bit of rock and roll.
You do.
And a dead sheep.
Well, yeah. Could have done without the dead sheep unless it was in a bat on a kebab. But, you know, just...
This is the Chloe that earlier on doesn't like alligators in zoos, but doesn't mind a sheep in a bap.
Prison. As long as the sheep had a good life beforehand, it's fine.
Never leave your sheep outside the Brit Awards
Unattended.
I was going to say false, but your information on the Brit Awards and the £1 million, I think you're knowledgeable on the subject. I'm going to say yes.
I think it's true as well.
Okay.
It is true.
There we go. True. You did stay at the KLF's Ancients of Groove home when you were a child, and there's a point to everyone. It is Ancients of Groove, isn't it?
It's Ancients of Moo. Ancients of Moo, but it's funny you say that. The house was very ancient, and it was like it was like there was derelict. There was a hole in the floor and one part where you could just literally have to step around because it was like a computer game. There used to be a really bad computer. Well, it was a really bad. Well, it wasn't bad because I really liked it, but back in the day, it was a TV show, and it was called Knights of something. And they would have a hat on, and they would walk around this really poor, like really terrible, pixelated. Do you know what it's called, Pratik? Please tell me.
It's called Nightmare.
Yes, that was it. It was a bit like that, but for real.
Yeah. It's a brilliant show, Nightmare.
It was.
Those who haven't seen it, go on YouTube and have a look at that.
If a child looks at that now from this day and age, they would think, what is this, Tosh?
Yes.
You know, there's 10 pixels in the whole thing.
It's true.
Okay, let's move swiftly on to round 3. Somebody is in the lead. It's almost certainly Chloe. Round 3, Did I Stutter? Each contestant is given a subject to talk about for 1 minute. However, repetition, hesitation, or talking complete and utter nonsense is not allowed. If any of those occur, our fellow contestants can challenge and must challenge. And if they get it right, they take over to complete the 1 minute to win the point. I may also randomly pass the story on to other panelists if you're just becoming too boring. So, Chloe, it is you to go first in this round, please. You talk about motorboats.
As we've seen in the story earlier on, you have to be very careful where you park your motorboat because there could be a massive walrus who needs a place to stay, and he may bring his missus along and they may hang out on your boat and make it very difficult for you to use that because they were massive and they took up most of the boat.
Challenge.
Repetition of boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, Pratik, you did challenge, and Peter, you got the actual challenge correct. So that leaves me in some sort of quandary. But as it's you, Peter, you take over because we don't give any advantage to Pratik. So you have 18 seconds in, Chloe. Well done. That leaves you somewhere in the region of 42 seconds. Peter, on motorboating, starting now.
So living on a motorboat is an amazing way to...
Challenge. There was a stutter. That was 5 seconds, though. Well done, mate. And you have 35 seconds then, Pratik, starting from now.
So when I went on a boat trip, I fell overboard and got rescued by Baywatch Pamela Anderson, who had very nice motorboating.
Challenge.
Yes. What is your challenge, Chloe?
Oh, motorboating.
You challenge for a motorboat?
Oh, yes. I might tell me when I begin and I'll carry. How many seconds have I got?
So you have got 20 seconds.
Motorboats could be a thing that you get on and ride to places, but it could also be something that you do. I think men like motorboating. Women might like it as well. It's something to do with large bazooms and getting your face in the middle of them and going...
No, but you can't say motorboating on River Radio at 6 o'clock.
I think it's very apt for River Radio.
I think it is. And it's nothing about it on the Ofcom list.
No, motorboats, sailboats.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get more words like douching and motorboating on the Ofcom list.
No, that was a wrong challenge.
Yeah.
So do I carry on?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. How many seconds have I got? As I was saying before, Pratik rudely interrupted me with his...
And that's your 5 seconds. Well done. Chloe takes that point. Well done. Congratulations. So it is, in fact, Pratik's turn. And you, please, Pratik, you have 1 minute to talk about marriage.
So my parents got married one day and met... Oh, God.
Stop.
I challenge on hesitation.
I think you're right, Peter. Well done. And that was 5 seconds, Pratik. Well done. You stumbled your way past the start line and did up first 3 seconds of your story. Peter, you have 55 seconds talking about marriage starting from now.
My advice on marriage is if you're going to get married, always do it in the morning. So if it goes wrong, you haven't wasted the whole day. The good thing about when two people go to a place of religion and sign a contract to stay together for the rest of the time is they always invite their friends and some enemies and family, mainly for for the presents.
Challenge, you repeated mainly twice.
Yes,
And
yes,
there's a
that
bit
was
of
correct.
hesitation.
It was indeed. Pratik, you
And,
correct the challenge.
And also, you saying in such slow way, you literally
That's the
talking
skill.
like this, which is, I think is cheating, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he was trying to let the time
Dragging
pan out as
it
long
out
as
really.
possible.
I let him get away with it for too long. He was literally going, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Pete, did you get that idea from me?
Very possibly. I like to study the professional. You know?
I know, I just worked that out. I was like, I just don't know why I speak so quickly. I'm really not doing myself any service here. I'm just going to slow it down.
It's all right, just spell it letter for letter. Anyway, Pratik, you won that. Your correct challenge, and you have 23 seconds about marriage.
So as I was saying earlier on, my parents met one day and married the next day in an arranged marriage. They met one night and basically their wedding was arranged for the next morning, and were married for a long time. I can't stop laughing. Someone say challenge.
Sorry, actually, I was so involved in your story that
Me
you went
too.
over the 1 minute mark. So you actually won that because it's 1 minute and 2 seconds. Pratik actually won another point in that, which makes he's probably doing all right. If I'd have kept score, I'd be able to tell you who's winning. It's Peter's go. And Peter, you have 1 minute, please, to talk about snakes, starting from now.
If you was on a toilet and you were bitten by a snake, that would make you very wary about visiting a urinal again. So you would.
I'm going to challenge.
Yes,
He's literally talking backwards, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's how slow he's talking.
Yeah.
I was going to talk in Welsh to make it even longer, but it didn't happen. Next time.
Absolutely. Good challenge. Pratik, you have 45 seconds starting now on snakes.
So I saw Blackadder, the snake, once down in the field, and it was very, very lovely. And
hesitation, and
Yeah, and yes, correct challenge. Chloe, you have, what have you got? 35 seconds starting now.
I've got to say there aren't many places that I would like to see a snake, and especially not in the loo when I was trying to relax to do my business. And if one had by chance surprised me there, I probably would have been frightened of using the lavatory for the rest of my life. Also, snakes. I mean, who does want even a trouser snake? Yeah, go on.
that's a challenge.
Mhm.
She definitely stuttered there.
I stuttered, yeah.
Yep. I think you're right, Pratik. Good challenge. You have 14 seconds to continue the story on snakes.
So Adam and Eve had a snake in their garden, and it was very, very dodgy, that
Oh,
snake.
stop. Repetition. Very,
Oh,
very.
God. I keep saying very all the time. I got to stop saying very.
You definitely in this game, you've got to stop saying very, very. Who was that? I think that was me. So the snake then slithered away into the undergrowth, and Adam and Eve lived happily ever after. 1 minute up. I win the point. Thank you very much.
At last, Brian gets a point.
So at the end of round 3, we have points in all directions, including one for myself. So before we go to our break, Peter, you were talking earlier on about how your comedy very often was topical. I was just wondering, it's been a bit of a strange time at the moment, but have you got anything in process at the moment you give us a sneak peek of, or idea of what you're thinking over the last few weeks?
Things that I'm working on. I'm either working ahead or working 3 months behind. That tends to be how I do work. I'll probably be a topical comedian, and I do a regular Zoom gig, and if I miss a joke the previous week, I call it last week's news this week kind of thing. So it's, I missed a joke last week. For example, like Star Wars it's not topical at the moment. There's always a May the 4th joke around that time of year. But the problem with Star Wars jokes is you don't know which order to tell them in. So in a woke, political correct Star Wars, characters like, for example, Chewbacca would become vape.
Yes, it's very true. Yeah.
Literally just workshopping jokes now, like earlier, Does that work? Does that work?
Pete, how do you find the writing process? How does it work for yourself?
Yeah, with it being topical, like I'm always reading newspapers, watching news on television, reading emails and going on websites. Whereas other comedians might be like surreal when they're literally, they're writing about something that happens in their life, or they're sitting in a coffee shop watching the world go by and trying to think of something to get started with. Where I'm doing topical stuff, I've already got the starter. So I know that I'm going to do a joke about Trump or Harry and Meghan or COVID or the government Barman or things like that. So yeah, it's obviously I write stuff about myself as well, and it's nothing to do with topical, but I tend to prefer the topical stuff. Yeah.
Do you think it's getting harder to write comedy with all that old phrase? Oh, it's PC gone mad, hasn't it? But we have turned the corner. PC was probably 10 years ago. Everybody was going on about PC this, PC that, and now we're in a different area altogether with people getting offended or upset. Is it getting harder to write material? Are you constantly worried that you're going to offend someone?
Yeah, there is that danger, the whole cancel culture. But you've got social media where you can say anything. Free speech I'm a big fan of free speech, but not hate speech. And you do have to ride the line. And there was a few things during the Euro 2020 final where the three footballers, England players, missed the penalties, and there was one comedian made a joke that was a little bit too far. And then it's like straight away I'd responded saying, when you get cancelled, just remember this tweet. And he did. And then a couple of days later, he's complaining about being cancelled. So you do have to, free speech, but not hate speech or not. You just ride the line. It's so difficult. And you look at the BBC cancelling the MASH report, and because, they're too lefty. But
what sort of shows did you watch when you were growing up? What inspired you? Any favourite?
I did love 40 Towers, one of my first favourites, and things like Porridge and Dad's Army sitcoms, and then it changed a little bit to the young ones and Spitting Image. It became a bit more attitude in it rather than the kind of the old sitcom styles. And then, like I said earlier, I did like the radio calls and got into watching stand-up rather than watching sitcom. And I thought, I like this. So then I became inspired by different styles of stand-up as well. Political comedians, Mark Thomas, surreal, bit Harry Hill, bit surreal, and one-liners like Tim Vine. So I've been inspired by everything really. I watch as much comedy as I can.
Don't go anywhere. Coming up after this, we have got more of the good stuff. You're listening to River Radio, and pull the other one.
Okay, roll the drums.
On the web.
Oh, yeah.
On your mobile.
Oh, yeah.
And on Alexa too.
Thank you. River Radio.
I really like that.
So do I.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Dive in to River Radio.
Welcome back. It's time now for round 4 and 5 of Pull the Other One. Just 2 rounds to go. Let's start with round 4. Make a good impression. This is where each contestant will do an impression of a person or a film or a television show or a radio show. And the other contestants have to guess the person, the character, and the show in which they appear. It's basically a parlour game on radio. A point will be awarded for each correct answer. Who fancies having a first crack of the whip at this little beauty? Chloe, off you go.
We are only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided.
Oh, that was rather deep and strong.
Is that Margaret Thatcher at Tory Party conference?
It could have been, couldn't it?
Or was it Theresa May? I don't know, the new version.
No, neither of those.
Is it an old film?
Not really that old.
It's a film, though.
Yeah.
Is it about Margaret Thatcher?
No, it's not political.
Is it the guy that stands in the building in between North Korea and South Korea?
What, checking out the dance moves?
Yeah. Looking at TikTok when no one's watching him.
Do you want it again?
Yes, please, yeah.
We are only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided.
It does sound like some sort of politician, doesn't it?
Is it? It does sound like Winston Churchill, but it's not political, is it? No. Pratik, any ideas?
Is it a war film?
No.
Is it Alan Partridge at the last team meeting for his last ever radio show?
I do love Alan Partridge, but that's a bit too deep for him. He's usually a lot more superficial. Why it could have been.
Alan Partridge on a corporate gig.
Selling Ginster's pies.
Yeah.
Is the person that's speaking a man or a woman?
A man.
Is he a big man?
Is it Brian Blessed?
No, he'd be more like that.
Brian Blessed?
Yeah, exactly.
I love Brian Blessed.
Is it the winner of Love Island?
Do they know words that big? Are they?
No.
Do you know what? I don't think we got a clue here, have we?
Do you want a little clue?
Yes.
He was quite wizened.
Somebody from Harry Potter.
Yes!
I don't watch Harry Potter, but I'm thinking it's not Harry Potter himself. I'm thinking it's the character played by Robbie Coltrane.
No.
Dusseldorf.
I'm going to say it's not Dusseldorf. It's called...
It's a place.
Yeah.
Is that a town in Germany?
Yeah.
It's a state of mind, man.
It's called Dumbledore.
Dumbledore. Oh,
it's either Richard Harris, he played Dumbledore, or is it the other guy?
It's the wizard.
Yes, but it's actually 2 people played Dumbledore because Richard Harris passed away and then was taken over by I don't know who.
Joanna Lumley.
Joanna Lumley. So, am I correct, Chloe?
Yes, you're correct. It is Dumbledore from Harry Potter. I can't remember which one though.
Well done, Pete. Half a point. Congratulations.
I think, split that one.
We'll split it.
Split that, 3/4 for me and 1/4 for Pratik. Straight down the middle.
Yeah.
Just like the Brexit vote.
Okay, and actually, at that point, I think Peter, it must be your go.
Don't mention the war. I mentioned it once, but I think I got away with it.
I know this already.
I know this already. I think you need to put a bit more effort into the actual impersonation of it. It's not just the words. Just get behind it there, Pete.
Don't mention the war. I mentioned it once, but I think I got away with it.
Yes, that's more like it.
Is it Monty Python?
I reckon you're very close, Chloe, but I think I do know what this is. I think it's one of his favorite programs. I think it's Faulty Towers. I think it's John Cleese.
It is indeed. Yeah, Faulty Towers, that one.
And it's Basil Fawlty is the character.
Oh, Pratik is doing ever so well, far too well for my liking, if I'm honest. He's steaming ahead, really, isn't he? And it's his go. So, Pratik, your impression, please.
Would you say I have a plethora of pinatas?
Scared. I don't know who it is.
Sound the same every week, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Would you say I have a plethora of pinatas?
If anybody could actually see what we see, Pratik actually looks like an axe murderer, and I feel like someone who should be on the back of a milk carton.
It is a worry.
Is it a film?
Was it Harry Seacombe doing an advert for Visit Wales?
It's not Harry Seacombe, but it is a film.
Is it somebody else who's Welsh?
No. He's actually Mexican. Unfortunately, my Mexican sounds like a Welsh person trying to do a Mexican.
Is it Antonio Banderas?
It's not.
Is it Diego Maradona auditioning for Only Fools and Horses?
Can we go with that answer?
It's not.
I want a point for that. I don't care if it's right or wrong.
I think it's good. It was a very creative answer, I think.
I think you should guess what the decade it is, and then you might be able to get it. There's 3 famous comedians in there, and they go down to Mexico as actors.
Is it City Slickers?
No.
Oh. Three Amigos.
It is.
Yeah.
But who is the character?
Is it the one who annoys me? What's his name? Quite jarring, curly hair. What's his name? It's not him.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's
good.
actually the
I
villain.
won't try and remember his name then.
It's the guy from Police Academy.
No, it's not. It's actually the villain in the film. Anybody know his name? I'm going to tell him, Brian. I get 2 points. It's El Guapo is the character, and the name of the actor was Alfonso Aru, which nobody would ever get.
So El Guapo means gorgeous, the gorgeous.
I think so. Yeah. But the characters you're thinking of Martin Short, Steve Martin.
Steve Martin, yes.
And the other one was Chevy Chase.
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking of City Slickers with the curly hair, yeah.
Okay. Sure it wasn't Harry Seacombe?
He wasn't Harry Seacombe.
I mean, that's practically Harry, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I think I should go to accent school, because I don't know. Did that sound Mexican to you, anyone?
Not in the slightest.
The only thing that made it sound Mexican was the fact that you said pinatas. And it wasn't the way you said it either.
Oh, brilliant.
So at the end then of round 4, rather worryingly, I'm going to have to say this is an absolute first, but Pratik is in the lead. This is unbelievable. And then coming up in second place in random order is Chloe and Peter. So all to play for in the 5th and final round. This is quick fire.
I've got a bottle of champagne ready for my winning speech for this, Brian. So
all right, you've written your speech, have you?
Yeah.
Be prepared to put it back on ice, mate.
The 5th round is quickfire round. The fastest fingers on the buzzers. So unfortunately, we don't have any buzzers, so just shout out the answer as quick as you can. And points will be awarded for each correct answer. Question number 1. Peter, what is your next gig?
My next gig is Funny Thursdays in Leicester Square. You can find it on We Got Tickets. Thursday spelt with an F, and it's run by the amazing TV comedian Mark Silcox.
Super. 1 point to you. Congratulations. Next question is, Peter, what is your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is Topical Comedian, all one word.
There we go. 2 points. Congratulations. Your Instagram
is Topical Comedian, all one word.
Your TikTok
is Topical Comedian.
Is that one word, any chance?
It is all one word, yeah.
There we go.
I just want to warn people, don't type in all one word because that won't come up.
Don't actually type one word. No, absolutely. And finally, the very last question. It all hangs on this. Has you got anything else that we should be looking at with Topical Comedian, all one word?
TikTok. I've got to make use of that course I did. Follow me on TikTok.
Fantastic.
Date satire.
Super stuff. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us on Paul the Other One. You have taken the lead on that final round, and you are today's winner of Paul the Other One. Congratulations. All that leaves me to say is thank you to our resident contestants, Chloe Sinclair and Pratik Barman. Thanks again to Peter for joining us. Don't go anywhere. You are listening to River Radio. Paul the Other One will be back same time next week. But from all of us, we'll see you then. Bye for now.